Okay, so I had a flash of inspiration recently. One of the issues in my, let's say, my productivity in life is keeping up to date with the advancements and the news, which is obviously a common problem. There's more news than anyone can handle. It's a full-time job keeping up with it. For me, I'm really curious about better ways to keep my finger on the pulse of research advancements. And there are many times I've decided to make the habit of regularly checking arXiv or other academic research repositories, and it's never stuck. I've always reverted to just building things and creating things, and I pick up news and I pick up what's going on, but I think I could do a much better job of it, and I'm interested in the benefits of that. So what I've decided to do is build a prototype for myself today of a newsletter, an automatically generated newsletter which summarizes the recent research in the specific fields I'm interested in, and I'll be targeting arXiv, which is a repository of academic research papers, very popular. So that's it. I'm going to get into it, and the challenge is going to be building this thing out as much as I can end to end, as quickly as I can. So I've already got my repository set up here, and let's start sketching out the plan. So first thing I'm going to have to do is figure out how to get papers from arXiv. So I'm going to fetch papers from arXiv. The next thing I'm going to do is have a look at how much volume of data there is. Let's say if I'm interested in papers which have come out this week on the topic of AI, arXiv is flooded with papers, and I don't know how many come out each week, but we're going to find out, and that's going to determine the strategy. So determine data volume, number of papers probably, and also number of tokens, because we're going to be using large language models to carry out the heavy lifting work of summarization. So we're going to get into tokens as a main measure of data volume, as that is that's how large language models they focus on the unit of the token, which is basically a word or a sub word. So after that, we're going to, so once we figured out, then we'll have to figure out the batching strategy, because I don't know what the data volume is going to be like, but it's going to be larger than just as much as you can copy and paste into, say, ChatGPT. It's going to be much larger than that, so we're going to need to have some kind of way of grouping these papers into subgroups or clusters, and maybe summarizing those clusters and then bringing those summaries together into a final summary. So that'd be a very typical approach. So that's something to look at. Going to want to determine exactly what kind of thing I'd be looking to see. You know, what do I want to read? Let's say on a weekly basis, I receive this arXiv newsletter to my inbox. What kind of thing do I want to see? So I'm going to have to specify the target output, and that would be something to do up front. So, and that will determine how we batch and how we summarize. And then if I want to go to the point of sending it to my inbox, that'll be the final step there. So that's a rough plan. It's enough to get started. So let's think about the output then. So let's say target output. So what kind of things do I care about? Why am I interested in doing this? Well, I'm interested in the general trends. What kind of themes are being published on both in the main but also in the outliers of the little single papers which are maybe a bit more unique and maybe aren't necessarily the most popular. So I'm interested in maybe mention of unique, it's like stand out papers or themes. I'm interested in what problems people are trying to solve. So I mean that's maybe a subset of the general trends and themes, but it's yeah, what are the problems and motivations, and what are the what's the impact and significance of the research that's coming out. And the trick with this is the scope, because the best thing to do if I wanted information would be to just read the papers, but obviously I'm not willing to do that, not willing to put in the time to do that, and I wouldn't be able to get a broad view of the literature if I did that. I need this top-down view which I'm going to generate for myself, and that's going to maybe drive me down to specific papers that I want to read, but I need to see the wood for the trees, I guess is what they say. So I can't go down into, say, understanding what the key contributions of each paper is. That would just be, it's got to be really condensed. So I think you could probably group papers into the kinds of problems they're solving and the significance of those advancements, but probably not go into any more detail than that. But we'll see. So length. I mean, I would read a medium length article that really well summarized the last week in research. I think that's reasonable. So I don't know what that is, but let's I mean, Copilot suggesting 1 to 2 pages. What's a page? Don't know. Let's say right. How many words in a page? 500 words. Let's say 1,000 words. Around 1,000 words. Yeah, and that would probably be per research category. So this is another interesting question to answer is, let's say I'm interested in AI and some other thing. Do I have a separate digest for those two things? Probably yes, but I can imagine there's maybe a really personalized thing where I'm interested in these 5 categories of research, and I can receive an article into my inbox, a generated article that summarizes the advancements in those fields in one coherent narrative. That's a possibility, but probably, let's say, out of scope for now. So mute this. Well, that's probably enough to get cracking. So let's get on. I'm gonna create a data folder. That's where I'm gonna put all the stuff I'm gonna collate through this project. And let's start off with a fetch.py. So this is gonna get data from arXiv. So I have already quizzed ChatGPT on this, and it gave me a fairly good answer. So there is apparently an arXiv Python library. So I'm just gonna, I've got to create my virtual env here. Let's pip install that. Let's copy this. Let's get this into a fetch arXiv. And so let's see, yeah, the last week, so 7 days there, everything related to AI, max results 1,000. All right, let's see. I want to know what else you can sort by, because if there are simply too many papers to deal with, I might consider sorting by some other metric. But let's just see. I'm going to return these papers, and I'm going to just get a count. That many papers, and let's print, let's say, the first 10, and yeah, I wonder how long that's going to take. Let's hit it, and if it's quick, actually I'm gonna go for this, save it straight away. So data, let's just call it papers.txt for now, and let's call it papers.json and save it into a JSON file. So, well, maybe I should start with just fetching one paper, and we'll see exactly. Yeah, let's see what kind of output we get. So search expected date from. Okay. It's like I'm sending a date from, but this is search.init. Well, it looks like ChatGPT has failed to deliver the working code straight off the bat, which does happen. So let's go to the good old documentation. Okay, so I could just query it without the arXiv Python library. That might be fine, but let's have a look at this Python library then. Guess it's this. Yeah, so date from is not something it takes. Interesting. All right, well let's crack on. Not JSON serializable. So now we've got to get this into a nice JSON output. So it looks like these are the fields. Can I go and look at this this paper object? Result, there we are, there was a class result. So I want to get this as a dictionary. So normally let's try it. Nope, doesn't work. So maybe I will be iterating through that. There's definitely a way to get this as a dictionary. Oh, this is why I was trying to avoid this very manual naming all the keys, but oh well. That's fine by me. This is rapid prototyping. So let's do be that for every paper. Now, is that correct? I think so. Author has no attribute to dict. Skip that for now. Good. So the authors is a list of authors, and where is this defined? Author has just got name, so that will be author name. Yes, indeed. And link has all these. So ref title, rel, and content type. Oh, paper raw, not sure if I want that. Maybe I do. Well, let's look at this in a prettier way. So I'm going to papers in there, and so that'll be all the papers. I'm also going to output a single example file which is in a prettier format. Paper example, yeah, 1 with an indent of 2. Okay, date time is not JSON serializable, so the way to deal with this is let's have a util and say JSON serialize default, and that is pretty typical. And then in here I'll need to import util, and here I'll need to do default equals util.that function we just made. So then good. So now we have the paper example, and this is what it looks like. So my first question is, do I need all of this? Because it would be nicer on the arXiv API to be a bit more careful with what I need. So looks like I've got many of these summary things. So let's see, this first summary, I guess that's just the normal abstract, so I'll go and look at that, confirm that. So explainable AI for clinical blah, that's this. Summary, recent advancements, yes. So I will, let's say, so data fields that I want. Well, let's say that I don't want, so comment, not bothered about that. Do want the categories. I'll take the links. So it's good to know that I can link to the PDF, I suppose. Don't know what this rel is. Could probably ignore that. Content type, could probably ignore that as well. Yeah, this looks like a lot of stuff I don't need. This raw stuff. This is the same. Oh, this is what you get back from the API. I see. Maybe that's what I want, and not the rest of it. Well, the non-raw stuff looks slightly more concise, so let's just stick with that. So let's get rid of the raw. So we don't need that. And we won't have that. There you go, that's much nicer. I could probably just keep the href and title for the links. Okay. Awesome. So that's fetching the papers. Now I suppose I better just fetch as many as I can and see what we're dealing with. I would like to just get papers for the last week though, so looks like search doesn't take any time. Looks like I'll just have to fetch as many as I can and then do the cutoff afterwards, so that's fine. Right, so let's go for 1,000. Well, let's go for 100 and then we'll get the dates and see what that's looking like. So I can remove these. That was quick. Lots of papers. Something looks strange in here. Whoa. There's a lot of authors. Dear oh me. It's a highly collaborative work. Most of them have got the same name. Oh man. How many Leos do you need? That's outrageous. Excuse me. So, right, on to the next step then. So we've got data. Let's have a process.py. So I'm going to import all that data, and the first thing I'm going to do is get the date range. So yeah, load papers, calculate date range. I'm not sure that's what I want to do. I want to see, well, maybe I just want the cutoff. I'll just have cutoff date is a week ago. There we go. Papers, let's say papers 7 days, 7D. And let's see how many papers we ended up with. So what's this? Paper.